going to talk about special education, and this area is a very interesting area to be in, and I love it, and I have a passion for it. So I'm going to try and be very brief as possible. That's why I have the PowerPoint, so I don't deviate and go all over the place. Okay. So as Abina was saying, I'm a special education teacher, but on my certification, I'm known as teacher of students with disabilities. And I have focused all my career in education and not deviating from that for a reason, which I will touch onto. So from associate to bachelor's to master's, and God willing to my doctorate, working only in education because it's a passion and a place that I feel that I can thrive and help a lot of students. So the nature of my work, let me go into that. I work with students who have significant cognitive disabilities. They have complex communication skills. They display global developmental delays, and 60% of my students are medically fragile. So what does that mean? That a lot of them have trachs, G-tubes, and the nurses here can relate. Most of my students come with ambulance to school, stretchers. They're non-ambulatory, they can't walk, they can't talk, very involved. So that's what happens. In the past 10 years plus, I've worked with infants, toddlers, preschoolers, students at elementary level, middle school, secondary school, and right now I'm working with students who are 21 years and up, more about getting ready to go into the workforce, okay? I primarily teach life skills, basic communication, in connection with general education. Again, with the New Jersey core curriculum, you have to, it doesn't matter if the child has disabilities or not, they require the standard, and you have to make sure that student is aligned with that standard. And so that's what I do. So I work in a school that offers year-round. I work 12 months in a year. I don't take a break. But if you work in public schools, you do get the 10 months and you get a summer off. I don't get a summer off, so I wish I did. My class is an environment that relies on collaboration. What that means that I work with teachers, parents, teaching assistants, therapists, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and a lot of behaviorists and so forth. And other significant individuals, doctors, because most of my children are very involved. So I work with doctors, psychologists, nurses to meet the needs of my students. Why special education? So that's my next slide. Why I chose special education is it's a personal thing. I went into special education again because I suffer from a learning disability. And I didn't know this. I went to school in Ghana for 6 years boarding school. It was torture, it was hell, and I had to make it. I didn't understand the materials, things were dictated to you, you didn't have notes, and when the teacher's saying one thing, I'm behind somewhere, and in the evenings we have evening studies. I'm busy copying some of these notes instead of learning, and when I go to school, it just piles up again, the cycle just go on and on and on. I had extra teachers' help. My mom was paying the math teachers, English teacher for extra classes. Nothing helped. So it was challenging. I wasn't able to be, I wasn't able to do the subjects I wanted to do. I was put into vocational to do home economics because I couldn't perform in the regular classroom. And that was very disheartening. And when I finished SSS, senior secondary school, I couldn't go to college because my scores was very low. And because of that, even the people you know, my mom called upon people who knew people to help me get into the university. And somehow I wasn't going to the exams again. I only passed just a smear, and I got into KVAS. And when I got there, I couldn't do the subject I wanted to do. Again, I was put into teaching to be a home economics teacher. After 1 year, I quit. I said, this is not for me. Education, done. So that was my personal story, and I got the opportunity to come to the United States, and I was scared of education, did not want to touch it. And so I went to the community college because I thought, let me start small, see how it works out. And that's where my journey started as a special education teacher, and I was being exposed to different techniques, opportunities, and resources that I didn't think I had. And I taught myself before with special education skills before I can even get to teach students and people with disabilities, okay? There's one thing I really want to know about this slide, and it's at the bottom. I have come to understand that if you teach a student based on their particular learning style, diagnosed or not diagnosed with disability, they can thrive academically, and their abilities to achieve above their disability can improve over time. Okay? You have to individualize the teaching for that student. My next slide. Areas in special education. Special education comes in two areas. Either, and you find a lot of teachers fall either in each category. So you find the high incidence disability and the low incidence disability. So teachers who work with students with high incidence disability are special education teachers who work with students who have learning disability, behavior disorders, and speech language disorder. They may work in either an inclusive or resource room. And in education, in special education, the resource room is pretty much a pull-out system where the student can perform properly or can cognitively understand the material, they pull them out, but they come back into the general education class. But then there's the inclusive, self-contained classroom where the student does not go into the special education classroom at all. And they stay with the special ed teacher all day. But the materials is still the same as regular general education. You just go on a lower, slower pace, okay? Then there's the teacher of low incidence disability, and that's the category where I find myself in, which I love very much because I can take my time with this one. In this area, special education teachers work with students who have more significant cognitive or physical disabilities. Often they work in self-contained rooms, classroom, and the support of teaching assistants. I work in a school that's a self-contained school. The whole school is special ed. We don't have general education at all. So I love that environment better because we take our time. There's no rush. Some teachers find that being in low incidence or high incidence disability is very challenging, and they can't function because you're dealing with all types of disability. In one classroom, you have about 10 students, and you have one with ADHD, learning disability, Down syndrome, and all this different, and they cannot be able to differentiate their activities to meet the needs of each student. So what they do is they specialize, and that's the next category. And that's teachers who go into special areas because learning disabilities is a big spectrum, huge one. So not everybody can cope with all of it in the classroom. So you will find a teacher going into emotional or behavior disorder specialist, and what they do is they work with students who exhibit a broad range of characteristics, including but not limited to aggressive behaviors, attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, depression and anxiety or conduct disorder. But you have to take note, when you go into this area, you have to have a strong knowledge of behavior strategies, and intervention is necessary because those students would knock you down, you know. So you really need to be careful going into that. And the next one that all the teachers go in specialize in is autism spectrum disorder. And they work with students who are identified on the autism spectrum. And for this was very interesting for me. When I finished my bachelor's, I went looking for a job. And the principal looked at me and she said, "On paper, you look great. I like it, but you have no experience with autistic children, and for that reason, I can't give you a job." So it doesn't matter that you have a special education certification, which allows you to teach a variety of disabilities. The principals, the school district are looking for specialized special education teachers, and not just in a specific category of disability, but also in subject area. So they want you to be a special education teacher in mathematics, specialized in mathematics, and specialized in autism, something like that nature. So 3 certifications just to get the job. You know, so if you're interested in that area, try and look into specializing in areas because that's where the market is, and you can beat all the teachers who just have special education, bring it into the board. Education, that will take you to education needed. All right, here we are. Education needed. Many colleges and universities across the United States offer programs of special education at the undergraduate, master's, and doctoral degree levels. Special education teachers usually undergo longer periods of training than to general education, only because you have to learn about different disabilities, so you take a lot of courses on that. Most bachelor degree programs include general and specialized courses in special education. Some programs require specialization, while others offers generalized special education degrees or a course of study in specialized areas. Students typically spend the last year of their program completing an internship in a school supervised by a certified teacher while mentored by the university supervisor. You have to be very careful in this area because you are not going to get your license unless you do this internship. And I had to resign from my teaching for a year just to do that, and then hopefully, thankfully, the school took me back when I came back to it, all right? So another thing I have to take note with education is now a lot of universities are offering something called dual certification. So you don't have to go back to school to do one thing and go back again to do the other one. So I took opportunity of that and I did dual certification for my bachelor's so that I can have, I can teach special education K to 12 and also regular education K to 6. I did not specialize in the subject too much, so I stopped that. So license and certification. All 50 states and the District of Columbia require special education teachers to be licensed. The State Board of Education usually grants license requirements may vary by state. And that's important. Just because you have a special education or a general education license, let's say Georgia, and you want to come teach in New Jersey, you can't. You have to take your license to the Board of Education here in New Jersey, and they're going to convert it into their standard. If they find out that you are short, you will have to take courses in order for them to give you a license. Because not all state universities are the same standard when it comes to certification. So take that into notes, because a co-worker of mine came from Texas. She came with her special education license, and she had to take 4 classes in order to even teach in New Jersey. So. Pros and cons of special education. This area is a very personal area. What is my pro is not going to be your pro. And what is my con is not going to be yours. So what you see that I'm going to talk about is personal to me and my experience, and you may not even experience any of that, all right? So I had a lot, but I just kind of put it to one. The great moments are absolutely phenomenal for me. I have a lot of opportunities to work with students, especially with their severe disability, and just to see them pick up a spoon to eat, that's amazing for me. Or just to see them take 2 steps, because they've been working the gait trainer all year long and they can do it by themselves. Those are the phenomenal opportunities that I get to see, and that makes my day. So that's my pros. The con about this whole special education is documentation. The paperwork is crazy. You have to constantly document the progress. You constantly have to document the assessment, and you have to go for IEP meetings. And sometimes if you don't document, parents can take you to court because you are not doing your job. And if this paperwork is your legal documentation saying, listen, on so-and-so date, this month, this year, this is what we worked on, here's the progress, and that's your backup. Documentation, you can have it, it just piles up on you, okay? So the last slide is, will I recommend my job? I will say yes, only if you are patient, able to motivate students, willing to understand individual students' needs, if you are creative and able to apply different types of teaching methods to reach students who have difficulty in learning. But you also have to take note for the 3 C's, and that is communication, cooperation, and collaboration. are essential to have because special education teachers spend a great deal of time interacting with others, including but not limited to students, parents, school faculties, and administrators. Thank you.
For further information or to support us, please contact us, Irvington, New Jersey, 07111, United States of America, or visit DATSS.org. DATSS, supporting teachers of students with disabilities.